Everybody say it mean.
Who's that out there living the dream? Let's blow in the bean. Who's that still smoking all that green? Let's blow in the bean. Come on, y'all, let me hear you scream. Let's blow in the bean. Let's blow in the bean. Let's blow in the bean. Go.
Blow in the bean. Coming at you, bringing it heavy this week. We just got a lot to talk about, and we got topics for days. Thank you for listening. We're definitely getting more and more listeners every day, and we appreciate it.
We love it.
There's been a lot of stuff going on in the MMA-verse. Off the top of my head, I'm just going into the T-Fat-K breakdown with Elias Thurdo. You know how we love to talk about this young gentleman.
We love the Spartan. Follow him on Twitter at the Spartan. We think he's one to watch, and we think he's going to be one of those guys that's bigger than the UFC eventually. And we don't mean bigger than the UFC like the Spartan. We think he's going to outgrow the UFC.
Yes.
A few people make the transition where it's not just about fighting. And I think that's such a smart thing that the Joe Rogan, Brennan Schaub conversation that's pretty infamous in UFC. Right. If you aren't privy to it, it's definitely something to YouTube. It's pretty emotional, and a lot of fighters should have that good of friends that tell them that
it's time to go.
It's time, just because you still have so much to offer and you're still young enough. Yes. Yeah, so I feel like Elias is one of those guys that will grow past the UFC one day.
I think that's a really good point, and I can totally see it as well. As you know, the Bean, it does have definitely some admiration for all aspects of Thurdo, and I feel like that came across as well via his interviewer, Brennan Schaub. He definitely gave a respect / was a little bit...
He had a man crush on him.
Little brotherish at times, like looked up to him. But it was weird because he's a bigger guy, but Thurdo is an active fighter, and Brennan being a former fighter, a lot of the times Brennan can be the fighter in the room and bring all of the knowledge and experience in, but not against Thurdo, who's catching up to the amount of fights that Brennan has had, and is actually a prospect in title contention when Brennan was, but very quickly he fell out of that potentiality. Mm-hmm. So it was really just a fun interview. Really recommend it for all fight fans out there.
And I think that Brennan had man crush on Elias, and I think that a lot of men, probably straight men, have that admiration for him. So it was kind of like, okay, you can, coddle his balls a little bit. You can, right. We're okay with that.
And his girlfriend was in there as well. He kept making comments, or Brendan.
Gestures and such toward... Apparently she's good looking. Right.
So we'll see how that progresses along. It's definitely a fun watch. There's also, going back into the Ferguson Khabib, I just can't let this go, but as this keeps dropping more and more information, I love the speculation that people have been putting out there, and I feel like I have my own potential speculation. I did not come up with this, but I did hear it on Twitter / via Lesbo filling me in. But there's a lot of people talking about potential PED cycles being missed. And as we've talked about it many times on this show already, post USADA is a different world of fighters. We're seeing guys either come in without the juice and their performance is immediately affected, or they're failing the tests and not even able to show up to the show because USADA pulls John Jones 3 days before the fight because he popped for dick pills.
They say at the level Khabib is,
yep,
he knows what the UFC doctors are there for. He knows the way it works. He knows the way the cog turns.
He knows they're not coming to his door.
He says the things I've heard is the only reason that you don't call the UFC doctors is because you have something to hide. And it's not just gonna be...
Wonderful point. I didn't even think of that.
Because you're in the there's UFC doctors, and you're just a fan.
And there's a regimen and routine.
This guy's backstage, so the only reason you don't call them is because you have something to hide. So they said, and that's not missing weight, because we've seen things done, 4.5 pounds, where fights are finagled.
And
where we see him.
Overeem himself, that exact same card went through the proper channels, and you could see what the... end result
and you
was.
say it about Russia and Brazil all the time.
Right.
There's things that you can get away with in those countries that don't necessarily fly here. And so he didn't want to get popped. It's funny, I was going to bring this up as one of the things too, because a lot of people are also talking about with Ramadan coming up, he's not going to be able to fight for the holy time.
Yep.
So we're not going to see Khabib fight again until the end of the year.
His public image is taking a thrashing lately.
He did everything to get a public image, and now that's all it is.
Thrown it away.
Yeah.
Just thrown it away. It has been very interesting, this entire, just where all the cards lay. A lot of people needed this fight to happen in order to set up a lot of other fights. But now it just kind of fizzled out. Really took a lot of heat out of that division.
Khabib's trying to play his cards right now because he figures, oh, okay, whatever. Ferguson versus Conor goes off, and I'll just take the winner at the end of the year and get the belt then. Da-da-da-da. And I'll just walk my way right to the... Without really fighting anyone but who? Michael Johnson? That's going to be his fight on the way to the title? That's it.
Right.
So he thinks he's going to walk in, but I think he's going to get screwed. And it brings up another topic with... I was going to... with all the Floyd and Conor talk, I think the Floyd-Conor talk, there's fights that it is like maybe June... that this could be going down. Like
a real boxing match between the both of them? You're thinking
have no
about
idea what the stipulations would be. We have no idea. No one has any idea what the stipulations would be, but people have been talking about that there's a rumor mill that this could be going down around June. Floyd says the papers are out there, so apparently they've agreed on money. Uh-huh. And I feel like Khabib could be screwing himself right out of... Because if that goes down in June, Ferguson, he might wait around for Conor, but he might take another high-level guy. Either way, Khabib isn't going to get a shot with either of those two guys at the end of the year. All of a sudden, it's like Khabib becomes a fan favorite, and fans start not wanting to bank on him.
Right. I definitely also... I know I'm going to catch a little bit of heat for this because the Iron Eagle is such a majestic persona that he's kind of put on himself, even though he's dropped a lot of fights. But there's a potential that Khabib didn't want to fight Tony Ferguson. There's a potential that Khabib was just like, that guy's a monster, and I'm putting on this image of, I don't care, and maybe I'm poking the bear a little bit, but... I'm just saying,
you kind of thinking,
someone who wants to fight makes the fucking weight. Regardless of how hurt you are, unless there's just so much weird shit.
The history of America. What was our national bird gonna be before it was an eagle?
Red-tailed hawk?
A turkey.
Oh, not majestic. Very, very.
It makes more
stoic.
sense. But I just think of other, like when I think of an overweight bird. I think, is Khabib the turkey?
Ooh.
I don't want no Russian mafia at my door. Don't you even bring it out here.
Hashtag Russian turkey.
The Iron Turkey.
The Iron Turkey. Hashtag the Iron Turkey.
Hashtag the Iron Turkey. I see t-shirts of that.
We should send those to Ferguson.
Don't want... Ferg would wear that all day.
All day.
I need to put a leather vest on that. Put a little vest on it. Little mousse in his hair.
Yep.
You know what was the funniest stuff? I don't know if we talked about it, but when they were at the square off and Dana was in the middle during all the presser and Ferguson had the weird fidget ball in his hand.
Right.
But when he went, whoo! Right. It scared... I think that was the moment...
Dana fucking shit his pants. Dana said, oh my god, I'm just jumpy as shit. And
another thing you have to think of, which is how MMA... Like, it's like a sewing circle. Everyone knows everything.
Yes.
That same exact time, Ferguson said, have fun making weight.
Yep. Yes. He
already knew.
We did talk about that a little bit, that...
Dana was jumpy. That's what we were...
Right.
I just feel... Yeah, we did. I just feel like Ferguson... I just think the UFC works in different ways that people need to... There is conspiracy involved, but look at everything with WikiLeaks and everything like that. We're finding out there's conspiracy involved in all of us tinfoil hat wearers that people like to mock, that we just saw the bigger picture of things. Now we're seeing all that and everybody else's mind's blown. Like, what? They're watching either your computer?
I feel like I heard Nick and Nate Diaz talking about this, the Vault 7 thing that's going on. I think their reply was, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
That's a perfect end to that freaking conversation.
Exactly. So, moving with the fights that are coming up this weekend, going into the face-off that you were just bringing on, I feel like a perfect segue into Cowboy versus Tim Means, the rematch. They had an interesting face-off recently that's on the UFC highlights. You can see everybody's face-off. Vitor did look a bit taller than Kelvin, and Betch looked huge compared to Letourneau, but I bet that Betch was wearing
Betch
heels.
is smaller than Rousey from what I remember.
By far. She's short. She's like 5'3", 5'2".
She must have had on some strip heels.
Or she had
Strip
those
heels?
flip-flops that are like a foot tall. you know what I'm talking about?
Those Mexican mom laundromat flip-flops.
Where you're just like, you're wearing bricks, like little...
I know exactly what
bricks.
you're talking about.
Hell yeah. It put some feet on some ladies. I got some sister-in-laws. So, on the face-off, a really entertaining face-off was between Oliveira Cowboy versus Tim Means, the Dirty Bird, and Tim Means actually knelt down, mimicking Oliveira's knee, and Oliveira kind of shrugged his shoulders and was like, whatever, man, whatever. But Means looked huge compared to Oliveira. Huge. And I think that I like Means in that fight even more. I just feel like it's
and
gonna
he
be
has
a good
a
one.
purpose to go in there. I think he knows Oliveira better. He knows exactly what worked last time. He knows exactly where the holes are. I think we see exactly what happened last fight quicker. I just think it's... I think Oliveira is an interesting guy, and I like him, but I was hearing other people break him down and like, look, he's on a tear, he's doing this, and I'm like, he's sketchy as fuck. The tear he was on was at a weight he shouldn't have been at, and he didn't make weight for one of those fights. Like, yeah. I feel like he's on a false tear. That's the holes I'm starting to see in the UFC. The difference between the ones that were set up, and he's a guy that Means was supposed to be an introduction for him to this division. It was supposed to be like, if you got a chance here, you got to beat Dirty Bird. I feel like, so bad things happened with that fight for him, is so he's supposed to be his introduction to one of the most underrated fighters in the UFC. Like somebody that everyone might look at, they don't think they're exciting enough, or they don't think they're flashy enough, or they don't have the media appeal enough, but Dirty Bird's a sleeper.
Yep, I agree.
Dirty Bird's a sleeper.
He's been in it for a long time.
He's a sneaky one to watch.
I'd agree, and I could actually see this fight, Oliveira going for his takedowns, because he really commits to him, and Dirty Bird allowing that to happen, and then just wrapping him up on the ground. Oliveira's okay on the ground, but Tim Means is sneaky off his back.
I agree with you. I feel like he knows how to guard those takedowns now.
Yeah.
I picture him pushing him down, elbow.
Yeah.
Elbow.
Those elbows were
he
beautiful
has
the
Dirty
first time
Bird
around.
elbows.
But Tim Means was hurt in that fight. I did go back and watch it. Tim Means was hurt in that previous fight.
Was it
we
from
only
a knee?
remember it was from a body shot. And Oliveira throws really hard body kicks. And Tim Means 8-1. And he got hurt, came back, and definitely... I read a quote earlier today saying Tim Means is not sorry for his knee on the ground. It was intentional. He tried to knee him on the ground because that's the way he interpreted the rules. And he thinks that Oliveira is a cheater asshole. And... fun fight to watch. I cannot wait for so many fights this weekend. This is actually a sleeper card. People are going to be pleasantly surprised, I feel like, after this weekend of fights. And they're all free on Fox. Perfect.
I totally agree. I think this is going to... You know what? The issue with this card is there's no monsters on it. There's no guys with flair. There's no guys that
This is where you build them.
This is a fighter. All these guys are fighters.
Mm-hmm.
They're fighters. They're not shit. It's not a whole bunch of shit talk. It's not a whole bunch of like build up. It's just going to be like a Stockton slap. It's going to be like one of those fights where you're like, golly.
Yeah, there's going to be some great fights this weekend.
Yeah, I definitely think it's an underestimated card. And it could end up being the card of the year because the cards
so
everyone
far.
thought were going to be.
It could be the front runner for cards of the
Fat
year already.
So in other MMA news that I wanted to get your opinion on, which I feel like leads into just so much stuff going on about the world. Just hot off the presses, Singapore is enraged after a U.S. man gets 4 years for sex with girls. Thousands say punishment isn't enough. They want him canned. So, a mixed martial arts teacher, originally from the U.S., found out his faith in Singapore last week for having sex with two 15-year-old girls, and thousands are decrying the punishment is not nearly punitive as it should be. So, they've signed online petitions for a harsher sentencing for a 39-year-old man.
I would say that having any type of intercourse with a minor is deplorable, and I don't agree with it, and I feel like that if you're in someone else's country, you follow their rules, and if their rules are way stricter, you shouldn't have shown up there and done stupid shit. It's just you put yourself in that situation.
I have so many remember, or I was young, but remember when that kid, he like spray painted or keyed a car or something in Singapore, and and there was a whole trial, and he had to get caned.
Not at all.
He was an American kid, and he had to get caned.
Bet you he never does that shit again in his life.
And he was like, I feel like he was a privileged white kid, and
bet
he
you
thought
he
he was going to get
never-
out of it, and then he ended up having to get
Ooh, I
caned.
love that. I might try to find that on YouTube later. I grew up with a mom and
Watch
a
it
chocolate.
caning, you're like, I got
Goddamn motherfucker! What was he doing? Oh wait, they didn't just because my parents' point of view, which I feel like a lot of Mexican
A mom
parents
and a
is,
chocolate could be ISIS.
woo, all day with those are like boomerangs. They fly right back into her hand. Ka-cha! But
That's why they call him that.
the chocolate.
Yeah, they play right back in her hand. Chocolate!
So my parents, even if like a friend's mom, or even if friends, it never happened, but if someone were to discipline us or get us in trouble and then tell them about it, they would say, why did they do that? Oh, because you were being an asshole? They were in the right, slap you in the back of the head, and you're grounded / you might get an ass whooping later
Is this
as well.
a racist thing, though? I have a question. If you're in Singapore and you're doing sex stuff, doesn't it seem like you're like, I don't know, remember how there was that TV show, not Highlander, was it Highlander? Who's the guy that hung himself, like, while jerking off?
Oh,
and
no. That was the master, the kung fu master. I can't think of his name. I know who you're talking
Good
about.
night. I want to say David.
Master Juan, Master.
No, he wasn't a master.
Yes, he was. Here in like real life, he was a legitimate badass. And actually, I feel like I've heard conspiracies
Not
about him.
Highlander. What is
No,
that
I know
other
what you're
show? It
talking
came on the
about.
same channel
Yeah.
around the same time.
Supposedly, I feel like he was set up. Like, there's conspiracies that he was defamated as far as his character because he was starting to give up secrets of either traditional
and he's
martial
not
arts.
the guy that was in Kill Bill, or he is. Bill.
I think he's Bill.
I think he's Bill.
Yeah.
I don't want to look it up. I could just look it up right now. I just wanted to see if my
Neil or
brain
Norman
would work.
something.
No, I feel like it's David. I don't know why I think it's David.
Either way, because
look it
he
up.
was supposedly found in a hotel room with a noose or some sort of choking device, jerking off, and he was old and had a heart attack. But apparently, the conspiracy is that he was defamated. They fucking put his name through the dirt, and he was actually assassinated by some sort of martial arts faction that didn't like what he was going, if not a government faction that he was doing some crazy shit. There's weird shit out on him.
David Carradine.
There it is.
It is David.
Yeah.
I thought it was David.
Good job.
Okay, so let's see.
David's death.
Carradine. I just want to see where he died because I don't
It
know
was a
what
hotel room.
I know, but what country was he
Oh.
in?
Wikipedia is our friend. He was in a bunch of movies. He had the show where was he like a traveling monk that fought people or something? He was like the Walker Texas Ranger.
You
of,
guys,
like,
if
martial
other
arts.
podcasts start talking about David Carradine this week,
You know where
I'm
they
just
heard
saying
it first.
because there's been so much stuff, but this is just an odd, weird, off-topic one. Martial arts. He's known for leading role Kung Fu.
Oh yeah, big kung fu. I feel like it was the triads or something supposedly murdered him and then set him up to look like he was
Hollywood.
being some sort of freakazoid.
He was the oldest child of actor John Carradine and Abigail. He was half brother to Bruce Keith Cripp. Blah 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 blah. Upon leaving the army, Carradine became serious about his acting pursuits. Kung Fu. For 3 seasons, David Carradine starred as the half Chinese, half white monk. Film career immediately following Kung Fu. Television. Directing, martial artist. Carity knew nothing of the practice of Kung Fu at the time he was cast in the role.
Oh, God damn it. God damn it. I believe
But maybe
that.
he knows something else. He acquired enough expertise in martial arts to produce and star in several instructional videos, Tai Chi. Never mind. I thought it was going to be
I thought
so
he was
validating.
a master. I feel like my dad kept being like, this guy's a master, watching as a kid, and me being like, oh shit.
Damn it,
Hiya,
Dad.
hiya, hiya. Hell, once I learned wrestling, I'm like, all that shit's bullshit.
I just
I'll grab one
wanna
of those
see death.
motherfuckers and roll them around.
On June 3rd, 2009, David Carradine was found dead in his room at the Bangkok, Thailand.
Ooh.
Is that what we're talking about right now? No. What are we talking about? Singapore.
Oh, that was where the other stuff happened.
Yeah.
Singapore is in Hong Kong? Yeah, I believe so.
No, it's in China, though.
Oh.
But aren't they both?
No, Thailand.
Thailand's its own fucking
Yeah,
deal.
it's way in the other spot.
Ooh,
It's
yeah,
in
I
a
can
different
picture
place.
it. Thailand's its own giggy. Okay, so, and the sex stuff isn't crazy because the pedogate and all that stuff,
Mhm.
and it's been happening forever. People are so surprised that... And here's the other question, just devil's advocate. In Singapore, how much difference do you think there is between 15 visually and 25 visually?
Ooh, that would be a hard call for me as well. But if he was an instructor, he knew these girls' ages. If they were at it from his school and gym.
I don't know if they were from his school.
Oh, I thought that they were.
He was just originally from the U.S.
Well, then they could have been hookers, and he got caught, and then that's just it. And unfortunately, not to say that there isn't 15-year-old hookers out there, but there could be. There could be people in really bad situations in that part of the world where all of a sudden the cops raided that room. He was in there, and either way, I don't think it's right. I think that whatever comes his way is going to be deserved. If they want to cane him, he could have worse things happen to him in his life than just getting his ass whooped.
What
and
about 4 years
dealing.
is hardly anything.
Yeah, 4 years
if
ain't
it's sex
shit.
with a child,
It could be
if
much
it's a
worse.
line in the sand
If
of
it's
what
a-
age
exactly.
it is, then that age you crossed it.
I don't know what the laws are for that country. That's why I just would give it to them, and it's just like, hey, you come
were
to this
there.
country, you follow the rules
I
here.
agree.
Same anywhere else. You follow the rules that are in place at that time, and you can't play the bullshit card ever in your life. I didn't know, because that's just a cop out, and you should have never left her where you're at or comfortable with if you don't know things. Figure shit out.
I
New day and
agree.
age. Any other topics you wanted to bring up?
Well,
On it,
I
man?
thought it's pretty interesting. Everybody's pretty venomous and feels the same way we do about this Bisping GSP fight.
Yeah, nobody wants to
Like,
see it.
across the
It
board,
doesn't make any sense.
Everybody is...
Bisping's so much bigger. So much bigger.
But the GSP is kind of the mindset where he is like, I want the biggest real estate coming in. Like, coming back into the sport, I want the guy
He
who's
wants to be
going to
the
draw
top
the
level.
most
Yeah,
eyes.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it doesn't matter who it was going to be. That is the guy who was going to fight.
It all depends on where they go. It's got to be UK or Canada, but I'm assuming it's Canada. They can hold. They're gonna get the biggest venue.
Dana came out and said the fight will be held in Vegas.
Damn it! Really?
Yeah.
That is not a Vegas fight. That's a fan-friendly fight for UK or Canada, not Vegas. It doesn't make any dang sense.
They must have some weird
They
contract with how many fights they have to have, or how many seats they have to fill
They have
in Vegas.
contracts with, I feel like, MGM and all of the other organizations. Like, we're going to have 3 events at your venue. We're going to have 3 events at your venue. They do have those type of contracts. I don't know if they transferred over with the WME.
And there's also talks of
Or
maybe
not.
this fight taking place 7-8, so during fight week in Vegas. So being one of I guess they usually have the Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, that's when it's getting good. Ooh, that's a...
Okay, think about this. This
Didn't
is
have
kind
a
of
time.
exciting.
Uh-huh.
So right now with Fight Week, here's some surprises. These are predictions right now from Lesbo and the Bean. You're going to hear it here first, but it's really just common sense, but I don't think anybody else is putting it together yet. Thursday nights that we usually know, they put together some kind of shiesty card with a lot of up-and-comers. We're probably going to see some like Northcutt's Van Zant Gauls on this card on the Thursday night.
Right.
But the Friday night usually ends up being the Tough House card.
Good call.
Who's doing the Tough House right now?
TJ Cody.
That means that's going to be the main event of a Friday night card.
Ooh, because they have to fight for the belt. is
They
usually
can
the
put it on a
stipulation.
Friday night and have it for the card.
Yeah.
And then it's the Tough House card. They work all the way up the co-main events for the belt for the guys in the house, or not for the belt, for the leader of the Tough House. And then the main event is Cody TJ.
Have you seen all of the photos coming out of that scenes from the Tough House of Cody choking?
Yeah, what is that all about?
I have no idea. All they're
I
saying
haven't
is
watched
he's not
any
playing
of this
nice.
season. Maybe I need to...
I don't think the season's out yet. I think they're still promoting
Good.
it.
We're not being bad UFC fans.
Yeah,
We're
no.
paying attention.
I think it's around the corner, though. I think it's starting here very, very soon. I definitely am going to watch it. It looks like it's a fun season. It's a comeback season, which comeback seasons have tended to do fairly well out for the UFC because it's fighters that they can really build stories off of because they can bring a lot of footage from early on in their careers in previous organizations, as well as just what's went on since they've already left the UFC.
Another rumor is that maybe 211, which is...
Is it Cormier Johnson? I believe it is.
Yes, Daniel Cormier, Anthony Johnson. There's a rumor that Luke Rockhold could be making a comeback on that card. Is that feasible?
That's not versus Weidman?
Health-wise? No, actually.
Who has Weidman?
Rumor is... Oh, Weidman's Mousasi.
Oh, yeah, that's a good fight. That's a good fight. It's a hard fight.
The rumor is somebody had a really quick finish and an easy, so we're finally going to get the fight we wanted to see with Souza Rockhold.
Oof.
Which that puts tons of meat on that card for us.
Oh yeah, that's a heavy card if that comes through.
It's crazy fight for Weidman to take, or Rockhold to take coming back in.
I agree. That's not an easy fight at all. But he has to get a couple. But Souza's right there. It's the right fight.
It's the right. It's the right fight. It becomes another one of those. We always talk about the Khabib Ferguson, the Ngannou Lewis, and there's the third one that has nothing to do with the belt that's on that list. Gamebred Maya. Fights that have nothing to do with belts that are fights we want to see.
They put people in a top contention.
Yeah, but it's just that
it's a fan favorite. It's a fan favorite.
Their things. Sometimes big fights are just because guys are the best and deserve to be there. The Rockhold Souza is one of those fights.
Agreed.
All of a sudden, it's like
it's a contender
exciting.
for fight of the year for sure. Just in the namesake, and Rockhold hasn't come back since his loss, has he?
No, we haven't seen him since.
And
it was such an odd loss, the Bisping knockout. Yeah. It was one. Has to be one of the biggest upsets of
It was
16.
a really, really big upset.
And look how long we're teeter-tottering with this BS with Bisping and these fights that they just keep throwing in. Like, here we go, more from the Walk of Fame. Like, come on, get this guy a real fight.
Yeah, agreed.
But then Overeem looked so damn good last week. I'm like, he didn't even fight him. Bisping fought, or Overeem fought the other guy that looked American Bisping, Stipe.
Oh, versus JDS. That's been announced as well. That's gonna be that's a rematch. That was a fun fight. That was a brawl.
I guess I'm more excited to see it now that I know more about Stipe and I actually enjoy his fighting style. Now, I didn't always get it. I just thought it was such a brawling style, but now I see, okay, it's technical. It's technical boxing. I get it. I get it a little more.
Nice.
But another thing is there's rumors out that they might be doing a Nate Diaz documentary.
I'm interested because I consume most MMA media and I look for it as well. So I'm going to watch it. Am I super interested? I know enough about these fighters myself personally, but do I think that it's good for these fighters promotionally and getting their name out there? Yes, so I'm for it. I say do it. I say most fighters should do it, and they are. There's a lot of fighters starting their own channels like the Mac Life and the Woodley Champion and tons of people doing podcasts. But that's the world we live in, and they're putting themselves on a stage. Why not make the most of it by... Somehow, he better be getting kickbacks. He better be getting royalties of this documentary.
I have to be honest with you.
It's Longevity Monday.
I'm not interested in another... I feel like I can see Diaz documentaries all over YouTube already. And no offense to either guy, I can barely understand half the shit they say. I don't want to hear them like, well, that's blah, 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 blah. I can't understand it, okay? I don't want subtitles on it. But interesting, I think Netflix did the Jose Aldo movie.
Oh, yeah.
And it was all subtitled, but I'm like, cool. It was actually okay. It was interesting movie. Well, I wish Netflix would just pick up a series and take UFC fighters and do these, because UFC fighters have such rich backgrounds. Like,
Most
so
of them
rich.
do.
You could go into so many of the guys. So I feel like I'd be more interested in seeing a real movie of the Diaz brothers. Both of them.
Right. More like a feature film.
Yeah, or even if it doesn't make it like theaters, but just a Netflix release, the same as the Jose Aldo. I'd actually be more interested in the Diaz brothers movie than Jose Aldo.
I would agree, because they do have
Because what are you
really rough
you're
life.
gonna end
They've
the
had a
Jose
really
Aldo
rough
fight with
life.
the Connor knockout? Is that how you end the movie?
Right.
Because that's all it stinks. That's how the movie ends.
So, the Diaz brothers have come up with they were through, I believe, the foster system. They stayed up together. Their parents had, I don't know if it was drug issues. I don't know what type of drugs, but I know that they came out.
Spoiler alert!
This is all. I'm just coming off the top of my head what can happen, but
I'm just kidding.
what I understand from the UFC back in the day, they tried to really promote the Diaz brothers, but Dana White came out. Yeah, this is years ago. This is 2007-ish. Dana White said, we tried to find family members of these guys. We tried to do this background, and they found one third grade teacher that could say she knew them as kids, but other than that, they just don't have family. I feel like their dad was never in their life as well. He was Mexican, and I feel like his mom is their mom is Caucasian, and it's just been a tough upcoming, and they've definitely had some blunders in the eye of the media, and they've torn them apart, but we've seen boys turn into men with these two, because they've been fighting since they were kids, but they became pros. 16 years old, they were fighting other pros.
Really perfect examples of two guys that don't get enough credit for building career outside the UFC.
Yeah.
Like, these are two guys that everyone assumes, like, they're desperate and on the streets, but they are doing stuff outside.
Right.
Like, you don't think blunt raps and things like that are $1 million ideas. You crazy.
And they're triathletes that also are sponsored from
They're good kids.
other stuff.
They're good kids from bad places.
They've done so well with the amount of, with their upbringing, with the potential that they could have been, where they could have just been bar fighters the rest of their lives. No one would have heard of them. They turned that fighting
spirit
that they had inside of themselves and channeled it into career that's making them millions of dollars, and they are making millions of dollars with all this backdoor sponsorship stuff. If Reebok wasn't there, everybody would be making millions, all of them, or hundreds of thousands. It's so disheartening, that deal. I'm so ready for it to be over. I think we got 2 years left.
2 years? It really
Maybe
is
2.5.
sad. And you know, the shit thing with what we're seeing with the like leakage of talent out the door that's been happening is and that is 90% the Reebok deal's fault. Yes. 90%. And when I like it, I think competition all the way around makes for a better product, makes for more eyes on UFC, but the more we can get these superior athletes the money they deserve, the more we're going to see the best athletes in this sport. And this is the future.
Yes.
The future isn't throwing a ball through a basket or hitting it with a stick. The future is eventually everything goes in a cycle. And the first sport that ever existed, you got to think, when we first stood up straight as Homo sapiens, the two things that we took with us from our apedom was fighting and fucking. So it's like, what do we say? Everything with technology, you know, it's really good when porn industry jumps onto it. So with like the VR and stuff. So fighting is going to be, there's parts of the movie that Idiocracy that are already true. And one of the things, it's like they're fighting each other with monster trucks and dildos.
Yeah.
But the poorest people in the world can become the best fighter. That's the beauty of it.
It was where boxing, that's what filled that gap back in the day. It was, everybody loved the Rocky story or the rags to riches, and that's where Italian, Irish, Mexican, but impoverished people have really made a staple for themselves in these combat sports. And now that we have MMA, I feel like it's transitioned from boxing to MMA, but boxing also did itself a disservice by corrupting its whole organization and just being
I hope they don't do even like, okay, so we got rid of Reebok and we're going with Nike, or we got rid of Reebok and we're going with, Reebok, I actually can't even believe I'm saying this. Reebok is a cooler brand now than they were when they started this.
I would agree with that.
With
that's
Connor
how
and
cool UFC
JJ
is.
and Paige
Oh,
and
remember
pushing their
Khabib's
stuff.
shirt?
Oh my gosh.
God,
That's a
that was
collector's
so
item.
dope fucking shirt. And
You're going to find that
goddamn.
on American Pickers 30 years from now. Some kids are going to pull it out of an attic and they're going to be like, what is this?
Yeah, it's
A
relic.
guy with a hat on. I don't understand anything that's going on in this. But if you guys haven't seen it, you should definitely look up.
It was a really cool shirt.
It was the best shirt I've seen Reebok do yet.
I would agree with that.
I would have worn that Khabib shirt even though I'm Team Ferguson all day. Another thing I wanted to go over, like we do once a week, is to talk about any change maybe in the rankings and see who's getting screwed, blued, and the damage tattooed.
What weight class do you want to start at?
And
this is roughly the UFC rankings?
Yeah, we're scrolling right off their page, so I feel like we could start at their, let's see, is it top? The pound for pound. We'll start pound for pound and go from light to heavy in the men's.
So pound for pound is kind of a mythical. There's people that can see a reason for pound, and there's other people that say it's mythical. There's no way to really quantify Demetrius Johnson versus John Jones. Why? Because you just can't see that fight happen. John Jones will win that every single time because skill doesn't matter at that point. There's too much of a disparity there. Or a Brock Lesnar versus Demetrius Johnson. But Demetrius Johnson is the pound for pound. Gotta say, with his reign in the division.
And there's some things going on this list right now that are like red flags to me right off the get.
As far as the pound for pound?
Who's the number 3 best pound for pound right now?
Well, right now, it's the number 1 is Demetrius Johnson. Number 2 is Conor McGregor. Number 3 is Daniel Cormier. Number 4 is Jose Aldo. Number 5 is Cody Garbrandt. Doesn't have the credibility there.
No.
He beat Dominic Cruz, but he hasn't
Daniel
beat
Cormier doesn't have the credibility. He's two fights ago he lost.
Against John Jones only. It's his only loss.
But you can't have to me, if you're the best pound for pound, there
DJ
has to be.
has a couple losses.
Yeah, but how long ago?
Yeah, years.
Yeah, that's where I think there has to be a span. Like, I would have said Dominic Cruz is up on this list.
Yeah.
But the loss does drop him down. I don't think
Stipe shouldn't be 6th either. I think JJ should be up higher than 7th place by far.
With you.
By far. Tyron Woodley's good at 8. I think
that. DJ up there. Yep. I think you have to put Connor up there. It's the weird I don't even know what would be a term for it, but fighting at 170 on early has to be an asterisk or something on that fight. Even though he came back and won the other one, you almost have to rinse them both away.
I could see that.
If they fight at 155, that's a whole different gig, but that was a weird but I feel like everything he's done of recent, he has to be up there, but he's not the best. I think DJ, okay. Tyron,
he's perfect. I think that's a good spot for him right there. Cruz being there with the body of work that he's done, I think
that's fine.
It's all right.
Even with a loss,
right.
I feel like
Bisping as well because of the veteranship. Amanda Nunes is a little bit iffy just because there isn't the amount of fights. These other people that are in there, other than the Cody Garbrandts.
Max Holloway should be higher.
Yes, agreed. He just has that many more fights.
He should be in the top 5 right now.
I could see him being up in the top 10 for sure.
Max Holloway has done more recent than Cormier.
I think Cormier still is. I think Cormier. I can see that Cormier. Khabib definitely can't be in the top 15. He's number 14 right now. Khabib can't be in that position.
But Ferguson's not.
That's what I was about to say.
Are you joking? I want to melt out of my chair.
You move Ferguson into that 14th or 15th spot, and you move Yoel Romero into that 14th, 15th spot. Yoel Romero is 15th right now, which I could see Yoel at 14th there.
To me, I just feel like to be in this top 15, when I look at least your past 5 fights, there has to be all W's on that. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
So to me, Daniel Cormier is not number 3. I don't care if you lose to the best of the best of the best.
You just got to have more fights.
Yeah, because Dominic Cruz, it's like, yeah, has this whole body of work, but such a recent loss, does it mean he should wash? Because if we're going to do all-time pound for pound,
agreed,
the list looks obviously different.
But they have to be active fighters. They have to be active.
So, but it's like an all-time pound for pound, the list looks obviously different. So if we're just doing an active fighter pound for pound, the top 15 should be all winners. You could pick guys with perfect records right now in the UFC. And they might not be, like, we might be like, huh. But, like, Max Holloway is one of those fucking guys that, not perfect, but they've, on their last 5 fights.
Right. So, moving on to the weight classes. At flyweight, we have Demetrius Johnson.
Yes.
We can see why he's a pound for pound, but he's cleared out that division. He's fought the number 1 contender at Joey Benavidez 3 times already, and I feel like knocked him out 2 of those times, if not submitted him. Henry Cejudo at number 2, which he's also knocked out with body shots. Jussier Formiga, which he's also submitted in number 3. Wilson Hayes at number 4. That's the only fight we haven't seen.
Can I say something? This division with its bests are just as boring as it would be. As I feel Demetrius Johnson. This is why Demetrius Johnson doesn't get more credit. Because
he's cleared out the division. He's made it look so easy.
And he makes the division look unexciting that we forget how exciting the other matchups are.
So moving on to Hayes, Sergio Pettis at number 5. Ian McCall moved from 7 to 6. He hasn't fought in how long? Are you kidding me? He needs to be out until he earns his spot back in there. That is not correct.
I'd rather see Smoka above him because
with the amount of fights he's dropped due to himself and other opponents, it's been a run bad luck. But you don't move up in rankings; you can only move down with the amount of incidents that have happened.
And you know what, you guys, we're gonna go over these rankings every week, so you're gonna hear us bitch about the same things over and over again. But maybe the UFC could get it through their thick skull. And then they'll change the rankings to represent and maybe put the fights to represent the rankings instead of fluffing these fake things.
I don't know how often they update them.
Because I know I'm going to get furious when we move on.
Right. So we have Ian McCall. Then Dustin Ortiz at 7. I think that's a great place for him.
They update them weekly now. That's
Do they for officially?
These little ups and downs are what happened this week.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, okay, you can update these weekly and make them right.
Right.
Make them right.
So, speaking on back to it, it's Ian McCall at 6, Dustin Ortiz at 7, Ray Borg at 8, Moreno at number 9, who only has 2 fights in the UFC, Tim Elliott, who's back in the UFC, 5 fights now, at 10, Moraga at 11, Smoka at 12th, Ben Nguyen at 13th, Patoja at 14th,
I don't
and
need
Ryan
to see
Bernard at
15. I can just see 10.
10, I agree, just 10. We'll just go to 10, and then we'll always just keep those other people.
Unless there's somebody down there that we're like, WTF.
The interesting thing with this weekend is we are going to see movement in this division because we do have a Ray Borg going after Formiga, who's in that number 3 spot. So this could be an actual big change where Borg can actually move into like that 5th, 6th position, get me and McCall, move it out if he beats Formiga, who's in that 3 spot. This is actually a really big jump as far as the rankings I see for Borg.
This is what they have going on. That's bullshit. They feel this necessity to put everyone wearing a belt into the pound for pound bests.
Yes. It is pretty much the pound for pound is a champion.
And because we are seeing so many fake belts right now and so many fake interim belts, we're seeing there's so much. We'll go on.
Right. So moving on to Cody to bantamweight, 145 pounds. No, 35 pounds. Cody Garbrandt is the current champion. Dominic Cruz is the number 1 contender, which we just saw Cruz get mopped up by Cody Garbrandt. Then we have TJ Dillashaw at number 2. I love this ranking so far. Rafael Assunção at number 3. John Lineker at 4. Jimmy Rivera at number 5. Brian Caraway at 6. John Dodson at number 2. He's just moved up 2 spots.
Caraway should be up on that list.
Higher than he is at 6th.
Yes. He keeps getting knocked down.
And
no
he keeps
one wants
winning
to take
fights.
A fight with him.
Yeah, people are ducking.
He should be
Brian
higher.
Caraway.
They're totally ducking Brian
Aljamain
Caraway.
Sterling at 8. Michael McDonald at 10.
John Dawson's fought 1 fight at that weight. And he's already up that high in the division.
It's a really, really good point.
Aljamain Sterling, didn't he just lose?
He lost to Caraway.
Bullshit. Didn't McDonald just lose?
To Lineker knocked out.
Bullshit. I feel like Alameda, was he on a tear or did he just lose?
Well, he just came back and beat Morales, who just fought on this previous weekend's card, and he beat the Asian Sensation. So that's his only fight back since he got knocked out against Cody Garbrandt.
I like the beginning of it. I do think Dillashaw should be number 2, or I think Garbrandt, Cruz, Dillashaw.
I like those. Assunção,
I
Lineker,
go Caraway.
And Caraway.
Then
Assunção.
Then Lineker.
Rivera's good at 5.
I put Rivera above Lineker and Assunção because Lineker just lost to Dillashaw and Assunção just... Did he just win?
He just beat... No. Who'd he just fight? He just fought somebody. Oh, maybe Aljamain Sterling as well, and won a decision, a really slow decision.
But so he doesn't move that far up.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
That's the only thing. Brian Caraway's just missing from that list.
So we have featherweight at 145 pounds. Jose Aldo being the current champ, the interim champ right now. Max Holloway. We need to see that fight happen. We need to get Max that belt, and we know that it's going to be a really tough fight.
Max Holloway
but it's gonna be a
is,
fun
to me, the best fighter in the featherweight division. Like, he should
that's
be
a lot to
higher
be.
on that
Jose
list.
Aldo has elite credentials, and we've seen him make many great athletes look mediocre. Max Holloway does look like he's turned it on to the next level and showing like, no. Not only can I do that, I can do all that for 5 rounds heavy and still have power and still be able to finish you in multiple facets of the game.
Guys, like, no matter what discipline that you were good in, it's how clean you kept your body while training in those disciplines. And we're seeing the guys that kept cleaner bodies and didn't put all the PEDs and weird steroids and Lance Armstrong themselves. We're seeing those guys rise to the top.
Which Frankie Edgar, in being the number 2 position, is exactly that. He was always a guy who didn't cut weight up until the latter part of his career because he would fight out. There wasn't the divisions at the time, and he didn't care. He's like, I don't care if they're bigger than me. I can eat all I want day of the fight and be absolutely fine. And he came in and outworked people, and it's really been a class act.
Who did Frankie lose to of recent? His last fight was a loss. No,
Jose Aldo. They came back for the belt, and he lost to the belt to Jose when Conor moved up.
But then he beat Jeremy Stevens after?
I don't know if he's fought again since then. I believe he might have, and that might be a right call as well. Frankie Edgar is not. He's always a potential contender.
But Jeremy
in the
Stevens
division.
Shouldn't be up that high because he's on a 2
we have
loss.
Edgar at 2. We have Ricardo Lamas at 3. Cub Swanson at 4. Jeremy Stevens at 5. Anthony Pettis at 6. Chung Sung Jung at 7. Charles Oliveira at 8. This is the Yuri Rodriguez at 9 and Brian Ortega at 10.
Okay, I'm going to tell you.
Yuri's moved down 2 spots.
What in the hell? Tell me. We always talk about how the UFC has to cuddle Conor's balls so much. Your number 4 guy, the guy you rank number 4 is fighting a guy that's not even on the list in a main event. Yeah. Cub Swanson, our number 4, is fighting a guy that's not even in the top 15.
Wow.
What sense does that make?
I agree. I think that Cub is really taking a risk here, and Lobov has really stepped his game up and looked much, much better. It's a fight that we don't need to necessarily see right now, but
I would rather see Cub Swanson Edgar get 2 old dogs in there.
I feel like we saw that, and Edgar beat the living crap out of Cub Swanson.
How long
Edgar
ago
mopped.
was that?
I think last year. I think it was early part of last year.
I thought Cub Swanson was on a mad tear of recent.
No, I think he's on a 2 or 3 fight streak. His only loss though being to Edgar, and he was on like a 5 or 6 fight streak prior to that as well.
Killer Cub.
I've always
He
been
has
a
some great
fan.
logos. He has good marketing.
Yeah.
If he's making them or whoever he has got going on with that, just stop. Take too long. Take too long already. I'm talking to the computer.
Loading up his past fights just so we can see how Cub has done in his last performances.
Grappling.
So he lost to Max Holloway. Oh, it was Max Holloway who bit the living daylights out of him. Remember that? Just mopped him up the whole entire fight. Cub looked like a JV guy. Prior to that, he lost to Frank Edgar as well.
Okay, yeah. That
submission.
was 2014, November 22nd. Oh, I didn't know about that.
Oh, 2014. Damn, it feels like yesterday.
I know.
Damn.
I did. I watched then. I just didn't know the guys all well enough
Uh-huh.
back then. I've always liked Frankie Edgar. So he only had those 2.
Yeah.
So he's
Against 2 elite
Cubs
guys.
lost Frankie and Cub.
Exactly.
Like,
the number 1 and 2.
jeez.
The
Yeah.
number 1 and 2.
And then Ricardo Lamas, who's also on the list.
Top 5 guys. Well, I don't know what the ranking is for him.
I think he's up there.
Ricardo Lamas
3rd.
is exactly. Cub Swanson is a gatekeeper. A gatekeeper's gatekeeper. That is the epitome. If you get through Cub, you deserve a shot at the number 1 or 2 or the champ. And it's justified.
All right, lightweight.
We have Conor McGregor, who's on an absence.
Here we go with the bullshit.
The motherfucking bullshit. Habib at number 1. Tony Ferguson at number 2. Eddie Alvarez at 3. Dos Anjos at number 4, who is fighting at 170, not 155.
Get
Throwing
him
that out there.
there.
Barbosa at 5th. Michael Johnson at 6th. Michael Chiesa at 7th. Nate Diaz at 8th. Beneil Dariush at 9th. And Dustin Poirier at 10th. That is just... doesn't make any sense. You got to move into 3rd or 5th position as Habib. If not, you got to go to 170. How do they trust you to ever go to 155
Michael
ever
Johnson
again?
can't be going up when he lost.
To Habib. Agreed. Agreed.
Chiesa should be higher.
I like that call.
Barboza, Dos Anjos, I think, has been all right. Eddie did
But
lose,
Dos
but he
Anjos was
only
at
lost
70.
the belt.
I'm 170.
Yeah,
He's
Eddie
moving
did
up.
lose, but he only lost the belt. Ferguson and Eddie and Edson Barboza should all be above Habib.
So we have a fight actually coming up this weekend that also touches with Beneil Dariush at 9th with Edson Barboza at 5th. So Dariush can really take a big step up here and move into that 5th, 6th position, if not
It makes
completely
it
take Barboza
interesting.
out. Right. This is really not elite, because I would say Dariush beat Michael Johnson in a split decision,
This
which
is
I
the
actually
second
gave to
fight.
Michael.
This is the second fight so far. I feel like that's happening this week, that we're looking at these top 15.
This weekend
Contenders.
on
Yeah,
Fox.
that
Yeah.
is
Well, and look at Trinaldo's in 11th place, right outside the top 10. Right outside the top 10. And who's he fighting?
Another good fight.
Yeah, it's a fight that I'm really excited to see. I couldn't think about it. I had a real...
I know.
We just
everything.
talked about it. There's so much news going on. Trinaldo versus...
I'm looking at my Venata Overeem card. Wrong one. That's last week before last.
hard hitter.
I know. It's somebody so similar to his style. Lee.
Kevin Lee.
Yep.
Such a fun fight. So, Trinaldo being outside the top 10. Kevin Lee isn't even in the top 15, but that's wrong. I feel like Kevin Lee is easily in the top 15. Ali Akinta, who's been out for almost a year and a half and just dropped again out, is in 14th position.
And Will Brooks, no offense.
Just
how many
lost to
fights
Charles
has he fought,
Oliveira.
though, in the UFC?
He came in with the belt, though, where they're giving him a bit more credibility, but he has lost to somebody who's also moved up to the 170 division in Oliveira, who's not ranked it as well, but...
Moving on, because we get other sketchy shit that goes on.
These divisions all get
They're
iffy.
such bullshit. I almost feel like we should release our own divisions and trade them up how we see the top 10 and each one going and put it on our website. I think we've talked about it before.
We have talked about it before. So moving on to the 170 division, Tyrone Woodley is the current champ. Stephen Thompson is number 1. He can't be anymore. He's lost twice to the champ.
Twice in a row.
Twice. You got to move to that number 5
Listen,
spot.
all these guys above Damian Maya have lost.
Robbie
it doesn't
Lawler
make
has
sense.
been knocked out cold from Tyrone Woodley. You got to move him back into the 3rd or 4th
And he
because
hasn't fought in so
since
long.
he hasn't
Every
fought since
year
that knockout.
has it been since you fought, you have to fall 2 spaces.
I would agree. I would totally agree.
Damian Maya should be the number 1 contender.
I would totally agree with that. And Damian Maya is in the number 3rd spot. He has an upcoming bout with Jorge Masvidal at number 6. But we have Carlo Condon at 4th.
Retired.
Is retired essentially.
Stamp. Retired.
Neil Magny at 5th, which I like Neil Magny right in that spot. I think he's worked his way up there. He's only lost to Maya, who's in the number 3 spot, which is really the number 1 contender spot in my point of view.
To me, I think Jorge Masvidal should be above Neil Magny. And Carlos Condit.
Did Neil Magny beat Jorge Masvidal? Have they fought yet?
How long ago, if he did?
If it was, it was
Let's
a
pull
split
it up,
decision.
because I feel like Jorge Masvidal is on a GD run, and
I feel like maybe they haven't fought yet. Maybe I'm getting it confused. But Neil Magny's come out. But if it was a disgusting split decision. If that ended up happening, Jorge versus Maya is such a fun fight. Jorge could move up from 6th to 3rd or into that 4th or 5th position, and
It's one of
Jorge
our-
should be
yeah, it is
for the title
fight.
very, very, very soon, regardless of the outcome of this upcoming fight. Lost to Neil Magny. Or no. Neil Magny lost to Lorenz Larkin.
Yeah, we're looking at Neil Magny's.
Oh, they haven't fought before?
Yeah.
Maybe they
I don't-
haven't.
Or they might have. I didn't pull up this
No,
whole
I don't think they
record.
do. I don't think they have. I think I'm getting him confused. They both have just such a variety of fights in the UFC and ever changing. Jorge.
I want to pull up Jorge because I just feel like he should be higher on it. I feel like he's on a mad tear.
Yeah, I'd agree. I feel like he has a couple controversial losses, split decisions that didn't go his way. Like to Lorenz Larkins, that was a split decision. And I could give it to Jorge. Prior to that, Benson Henderson, that was a split decision as well in a 5-rounder. Maybe not. Maybe it was a 3-rounder, but either way, he landed.
Every single one of his losses, look what they are.
He had more takedowns. Split decisions. No, I know. The other split decision to Ally Akinta, which he won that fight. That is ridiculous. He should have won that fight. That is unreal that he did not win that fight. So, there's a reason we're behind Gamebred. Gamebred only loses split decisions, even if he gets hurt.
Kamaru should be higher on that list. Usman. He is on a tear.
Usman is in the number 11th position. So
he's still young. I think he's fought
Masvidal
4
at
fights
6,
in the UFC.
Dong Kyung Kim at number 7th, Donald Cerrone at 8th, Gunnar Nelson at 9th, and Tarek Safadine at number 10th. Usman on that 11th spot. It's close. Ellenberger.
We're moving up.
Yep, there's a lot of fun fights. Ponzinibbio in that 15th spot I think that guy's the one that is going to be creeping up.
I think he's a hunk.
Yeah, he is, and he fucking throws hard.
It's good looking.
There's fun fights
his
for
tattoos look very similar to who just fought this weekend. That was about Pedro.
Oh yeah, I'd agree. And doesn't Gunnar Nelson, didn't he just get signed for a fight in this division?
Gunnar Nelson
just
is fighting. I feel like I wrote it down somewhere. I feel like I wrote it down
because it's a fun fight that he has coming up. But
is it no wait. No, you know what? We might have retweeted it out. Follow us on Twitter at Lesbo and the Bean.
And you'll end up getting that one. At 185 pounds, we have the current champ with Michael Bisping. Number 1 spot is Yoel Romero. Number 2 spot, Luke Rockhold. Where have you been at? And Jacare Souza in 3rd. Chris Weidman at 4th, which that's where it starts to get iffy. Mousasi at 5th. They're about to fight off in an upcoming bout that's really fun. Robert Whittaker at number 6, Anderson Silva at 7th, Derek Brunson at 8th, Vitor Belfort at 9th, Kevin Gastelum at 10th. We're about to see Gastelum, Belfort for that 9th position. Fun fight. I'm excited.
Here's some things I'm going to bitch about.
Sure.
Sam Alvey, I know for a fact he should be above Uriah Hall.
So he's in the 14th spot? Uriah Hall in 13th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Belfort still shouldn't be at 9. Kevin Gastelum, okay, he's new to the division. I don't mind him at 10. Whitaker, I feel like he's in an okay spot. Silva, he only lost at 205.
To Bisping? Decision?
Yeah, when was the last time? Oh, that was just last year. That was just last year. But it's Anderson.
Weidman's the one who's given me trouble, but I think that Mousasi-Weidman fight is perfect.
I agree with you. You can't goose egg it and be in the top 5.
Yeah.
You got a double loss.
Yeah, agreed, and it's been flat, dead cold. Like, where you went to sleep. You went night-night.
you went night, little chug up.
You just got to take a step back and come back with a couple fights before you can get back into that top 5 position.
You saw little Tweety birds around the top of your head.
Hey, he is a manly man, and I couldn't take that knee, but that's just the way, in my point of view, if it happens to you. But he was against the number 1 contender in Yoel Romero, so technically he should have lost that fight, and he was looking all right. Yoel looked freaking amazing, though, and the fact that Bisping isn't fighting Yoel is telling me, you running, homeboy, even though he says, give me 6 more weeks, I'll fight Yoel after that, because I ain't going to get hurt from...
And he's just hoping somebody else... you know what, and Bisping, this is where... What do you think about this? So, there's... the rumor that I was just talking about, what do you think about Souza Rockhold? What do you think about Yoel Rockhold? So, Bisping has... Rockhold take out the monster, hopefully, with his fingers crossed. So then hopefully it's the Rockhold-Bisping rematch.
That is...
It's actually a possibility.
Yeah, that's a fun fight. I'd watch it.
Yoel will be healthy.
I'll watch it. It's whether Yoel wants to fight anybody else, because I feel like he's in the spot where he's like, no. I just beat Weidman, who was in a higher position, and... I'd fight Rockhold, but Rockhold's nowhere to be heard of.
But his only loss is losing the belt.
And he's
the number 2 guy on our rankings.
Yeah.
And that's how they have everything.
Romero has beat Souza as well, and that was a controversial split. That could have went to either fighter as well. Moving on to the light heavyweight division. Current champion is Daniel Cormier. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20 21 22 23 24 25 26 27 28 29 30 31 32 33 34 35 36 37 38 39 40 41 42 43 44 45 46 47 48 49 50 51 52 53 54 55 56 57 58 59 60 61 62 63 64 65 66 67 68 69 70 71 72 73 74 75 76 77 78 79 80 81 82 83 84 85 86 87 88 89 90 91 92 93 94 95 96 97 98 99 100 101 102 103 104 105 106 107 108 109 110 111 112 113 114 115 116 117 118 119 120 121 122 123 124 125 126 127 128 129 130 131 132 133 134 135 136 137 138 139 140 141 142 143 144 145 146 147 148 149 150 151 152 153 154 155 156 1 Number 1 contender, Anthony Johnson, that fight's already booked. We're seeing that. Number 2, again, Anthony Johnson has been on a 3-fight streak and just knocked men dead. But it was Ryan Bader, Glover Teixeira, and I feel like somebody else, some other person. So we have Alexander Gustafsson at number 2, Glover Teixeira at number 3, Jimmy Manuwa at number 4, Ryan Bader at number 5.
Manuwa's a move up that shouldn't be up there yet.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
But they're just moving him up because he's headlining that.
Mauricio Shogun Hua at number 6, Corey
Hua.
Anderson at number 7, Vincent St. Preux at number 9, and Amir Latifi at number 10.
I think they should have Mauricio, and then when they announce him, they say Mauricio, and then they have, that Scent of a Woman, Al Pacino.
Hoo-ah! Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's definitely something that you could come out with. I think that Manawa's the biggest discrepancy there. He definitely hasn't fought the caliber of fighters that most of those other guys. Isn't Ryan Bader out of the organization? Didn't he go to Bellator?
Yes, he did.
So he shouldn't even be at the number 5 spot at all.
What a damn shame.
Yeah, there's.
I like Bader.
Villante's in the number 12 spot, who's actually fighting this upcoming weekend against Hua at number 6. So Villante can really take into the top 10 category and actually knock Hua out. I feel like Hua is a fight away from retirement. Every single fight he fights. Every single fight, every single day he wakes up, he's close to retiring.
He's on his slippers and he's like, should I do this today?
Yeah.
Is today the day? Do I collect my last paycheck?
He's going to be a legend. Corey Anderson, I also don't like in that 7th spot. I just am not a fan of Corey Anderson at all. He only wins split decisions, doesn't really ever decisively beat anyone. And Volkan, I don't know much about Volkan in 8th. OSP at 9th is just, that division is so lacking, and the fact that John Jones isn't even in it is so, ugh. But what if John Jones came into this division, what does he have? Daniel Cormier to fight again? Come on. Who else does he have? Glover for Teixeira again?
John Jones, I almost go to, if I'm John Jones, I go to heavyweight. I work up through these guys.
Yeah.
And then I go and fight Daniel Cormier when we're both old men. And just let Dan do his thing. We already know.
Right.
We already know, John. We already know who wins that fight.
I was just getting a little jaded in this UFC picks, but I completely missed the topic in 185 pounds that Elias Thurajoa beat Sam Alvey, and he is not even in the top 15.
That is so true.
And that is a disgrace, and UFC should be ashamed of themselves. Shame on you, UFC.
The only reason I bet is because Alvey, I feel like, has had another extra
3 fights since
so
that
Sam
fight.
Alvey must be, but either way, Sam Alvey's above Bosch. He beat Alvey's above Bosch.
Yep.
The Spartan would be above Bosch because Bosch is on a loss.
Yep.
The Spartan beat Sam Alvey. Uriah Hall's on a double loss. Or at least a single loss.
Yeah.
Double loss.
Yeah.
Latisse won last time, but I think lost right before that.
Latest, yeah. And Jutko has only one decision. No, he knocked out somebody in like a flash knockout, and that gave him a lot of credibility, but it was a really a weird knockout, and he shouldn't have got it, but there was weird implications with the fighter.
I think Belfort finishes his fight. I'm actually interested.
Belfort's about to fight Gastelum this weekend?
Finishes his fight.
Oh,
he's
yeah,
done.
and he's done, too.
I think Kevin Gastelum, either versus Sam Alvey or versus Elias Theradoa, is a great fight.
But that would be Kevin moving backwards. If he stays in this division, I feel like he only wants to move forward, or that would make the most sense. It would be... I would give both of those fights to Kelvin as well. I just think that he's fun. It would be a fun fight. I'd watch it. So we're going back, passing up the light heavyweight, going all the way to heavyweight. In the heavyweight division, we have the current champion with Stipe Miocic, number 1 contender being Fabricio Verdum, number 2 Cain Velasquez, 3 Alistair Overeem, 4 Junior Dos Santos, 5 Francisco Ngannou. A lot of hype coming in on that young man. Derek Lewis at number 6, also getting a big hype train. Mark Hunt at 7, Andrei Arlovsky at 8. Travis Brown at 9, and Stefan Struve at 10. This is disgusting. Everybody is trending up in this division. Why? Because it's so lacking. These guys, Mark Hunt's trending up, and he just got knocked out by Alistair Overeem, which was the number 3 spot. So it should have happened. He should have lost that fight. Francis Ngannou, though, doesn't deserve that 5 spot. I like him. He's an up-and-comer, but he's not there yet.
I love him.
There's too many other fights for him.
Derek Lewis has a loss somewhere, and I understand Ngannou's really good, but also, as much as I want to see that fight, I think they're both such upcoming stars in this division. I almost think you make the fans fucking salivate a little bit. Give them both another fight. Don't feed them to each other yet. Like, it's too exciting. That can be something that they really build up. They can start to slow shit-talking online, get Ngannou's English down, because you can't go into a shit-talking match with somebody like Derek Lewis. Like, I think it'll be that. But I agree. Mark Hunt shouldn't be so high on the list. Travis Brown should not be in the top 10.
I think he's in, 4-fight losing streak. It just shouldn't be there. I know that he's losing to top 10 guys, but... give him somebody outside of the top 15. See how he does. Andre Arlovsky should not be.
How excited would you be, though, honestly, to watch John Jones work up in this division?
Heavyweight division? Oh, he'd clear it out. It'd be so much fun. Yeah, because it's all brand new fights. And then they have that heavyweight power, but so will he at that point in time. So he could finish them just as they finish him. Love it. He wouldn't really lose size disparity.
I love John Jones.
I love me some John Jones, too. All right, moving on to the strawweight division. The current champion, this is for the women, is Joanna Jędrzejczyk is the current champion. Number 1 contender, Claudia Gadelha. We've already seen a rematch in this fight, so they fought twice, and JJ has won both of those fights. Number 2 is KK Karolina Kowalkiewicz.
Which we're about to see the 1 and 2 go at it on a card up and coming pretty soon.
The one in... Oh, yes. KK versus Gadelha.
Yes.
I would agree with that.
And I think it's been signed and stuff.
Yeah, I think that is, and that's going to be a really, really fun fight. We have Jessica Andrade at number 3.
And we're about to watch her fight JJ soon.
Yes, she has a fight coming up, and that's a really fun fight, too. We have Rose Namajunas at 4th, Tisha Torres at 5th, Michelle Waterson at 6th, Joanne Calderwood at 7th, Carla Esparza at 8th, Ronda Marcos at 9th, and Marina Moroz at number 10th, with PVZ just barely hanging out at 11.
This is actually the best ratings of all ever.
I was about to say, I do not have any bad calls on this, other than PVZ.
Watterson above, I would put Watterson above Tisha Torres and Rose, because Rose had a loss. So I would put Watterson right above Andrade, right above Andrade.
I like
right
the
below
rankings.
Andrade.
I like the rankings. The only one I would say with is at 11th, PVZ. I say Felice Harrington should be right at that 11th spot, if not a Jessica Aguilar, even a Penne. I would put Penne above PVZ. I just feel like PVZ is more name than anything, and they just tried to keep her in that top 10 contention if they can.
She's cute.
Exactly. So moving on to the women's bantamweight division, we have the current champion Amanda Nunes, the number 1 contender Valentina the Bullet Shevchenko. And a lot of people would say that if we saw a 5-round fight, Shevchenko wins this fight. I would agree with that 100%.
All day. Not only do I think Shevchenko wins this fight, I think she wins it. I think she'll do it in 2.
Woo! You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here first.
I do think she's going to have to wear... I think Amanda Nunes has got the best first round in the women's 135. I don't think there's somebody with a harder fist for that.
Right. So, in number 2 spot, we have Juliana Pena, who just fought Shevchenko and was out in 2. Submitted in 3 rounds.
She should not be there. Pennington should be above Pena.
So then we have number 3, Ronda Rousey, who hasn't left the sport. She said that she might come back.
We heard some chitter chatter.
So hey, I like her in 3rd. She beat so many women so decisively that I don't mind that spot. Holly Holmes at 4th, Pennington at 5, Sarah McMahon at 6th, Kat Zingano at 7th, Liz Carmouche at 8th, Betch Correa at 9th, and Jeraine Darandami at 10th, which she's at the 145 champion. She does not need to be in that 10th position. That's my biggest discrepancy. Alexis Davis at 11.
Oh, I got some shit to bitch about with this, too.
Go for it.
Juliana Pena should not be in there. Ronda Rousey should be further down on the list. Holly Holmes, if she we don't really know what's going on with Holly.
Because she just fought for 145 as well.
Point now, how many losses is Holly on? 3. She shouldn't be in the top 10. I like Holly, but she should not be in the top 10.
I think she could be in the 8th spot, and I wouldn't be mad with that.
Okay. Raquel Pennington should be above Pena, so she should be higher up there. Sarah McMahon right now should be easily number 3. Easily number 3 to me. She's on a tear. I think she's won 3 in a row.
Yeah.
Kat Zingano should not be that high anymore. Carmouche should not be that high anymore. Bet shouldn't be that high anymore.
Bet
GDR
should
doesn't fight
not.
there anymore.
Exactly.
So all the way down, my girl who should be at least number 8 to me, if not 7th, is my number 1, Leslie Smith.
Leslie.
She needs to be higher on the list. I feel like she has fought a few. The only fight she's lost of recent was her ear pop and then Cyborg.
Exactly.
At a different weight class.
I would agree with that 100%, and I think that Leslie would give...
There's only 2 fighters in the women's featherweight. 3 fighters, and those rankings are wrong.
Yeah, for reals. So
They
I
still
think
got
Smith,
Holly Holmes rated above Cyborg. That says they're footage. It's not real. It's not real, people.
Smith could take out a lot of the women all the way up into that 6th position. She gives all those women a hard fight, if not even the number 1 and 2 contenders. She might not beat them, but she's going to give them a fight.
I think Leslie Smith beats Pena.
That's a fun fight, but Pena wouldn't take that because she's being a little diva ass, even though she got her ass whooped. She wouldn't give Smith a chance, and I believe Smith can go in there and make a fun fight with any one of those women. And we need to tweet at her. I don't know if we ever really have attached too many tweets to her, but
we like Leslie Smith.
We like her. We have a pick named after her, for God's sakes.
Yeah, we do.
We have our underdog because we see the potential in her, and in this division we haven't talked about a 15th going up and contending for the number 3 and 4 spot, and Leslie Smith is one of those fighters that can contend for that and has been undervalued every time she stepped in that ring.
Every single time.
Every single time.
Didn't she make it out of the first round with Cyborg?
Yeah. No. Maybe not, but it was a early stoppage. It was the one of the earliest stoppages we've seen where she rolled in a Granby, and they called it that she had stopped on her back and been hitting it, and it was not. She got up and was like, I was okay. I was completely okay. It might have been at the end of the first round. But she didn't look horrible. Oh, it was up further. And she lost to Cyborg in the first round TKO. But it was early. It was early.
Yeah, the Jessica I.
Lost, and that was a ear. But that was the ear. That wasn't her fault.
She was winning that fight.
Yeah, she was winning that fight. Yeah, she was.
So, yeah, that brings us to the end of the rankings. We will not have to go in depth that much. Hopefully they get better at doing it.
Yeah, it'll be much quicker for us next time.
Yeah.
Definitely wait for us for after post weigh-ins. You know where to find us. We're always going to be... We are starting a Facebook page. You can find us on Facebook. You can also find us at...
Lesbo and the Bean on Twitter. We're going to get everything figured out with our RSS feed, and hopefully we'll get back on iTunes. We're going to do some work and get us back on SoundCloud, blah, 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 blah. We'll get us everywhere so you can get your newest and greenest UFC news.
Right? So betting tips coming your way. Let's move the beat!